Now, with that, quickly, I'd like you to go to page 61. And I mentioned that yesterday. I want to mention it again, more specifically, the active and passive virtues. Why? Because some people misunderstand Christianity to mean you're always sweet, like syrupy. Syrupy what? Syrupy syrup. Sweet, gentle, kind, soft, smooth. That's how people define spirituality, by the way. Please look at the statement right in the middle of that paragraph. Christian life is more than many take it to be. It does not consist wholly in gentleness, patience, meekness, and kindness. These graces are essential. These are the passive virtues. But there is a need also for the active virtues, such as courage, force, energy, perseverance, boldness, spiritual backbone. Some people have no spiritual backbone, by the way. Like the jellyfish. They're like putty. Can be fashioned, molded in any shape you want them to be. Those who would win success must be courageous and hopeful. They should cultivate not only the passive, but the active virtues. While they are to give the soft answer that turns away wrath, they must possess the courage of a hero to resist evil. With the charity that endures all things, they need the force of character that will make their influence a positive power. That's the balance here. And Jesus exhibited that balance in his life. He was gentle and sweet when he needed to be, but he was bold and courageous when he needed to be. You know what he said to the Pharisees? You know how he treated the merchants in the temple? I'm so glad we have Jesus to give us a good example, balanced example. Gentle but courageous. Meek but bold. Well, let me conclude with this. I still have 5 minutes. Let me conclude with this, and then I will make an appeal and have prayer in conclusion. There are many more things I could share. Please, it's not because my book. Read this. It will really impact your life and family, okay? Now, you know this text that was read yesterday, Proverbs 12 and Proverbs 14, verse 12. There's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end of it is the way of destruction. We cannot go by feelings. We cannot go by impressions. We cannot go by what seems right unto us. We got to go to what seems right to God. It's safer. Why? Because He's wiser. You only know one tiny sliver on the spectrum of reality. God knows 360 degrees, all spectrum of reality. Trust Him. Take advantage of His counsel. When I was a mission in Africa, I love flying. I was brave. I could fly anywhere on the most rickety planes. And the Western world gives African nations their old planes. And sometimes when these planes take off, you think they're going to unravel in the air. But then one time I was to fly from Madagascar to Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. And then from Mauritius, I was to fly to Rodriguez, a small island in the ocean. You could hardly see it on the map. Well, my flight from Madagascar to Reunion was okay. It was a big jet. Then there was a small plane, one engine, to fly me to Rodriguez. Small plane, one engine. You know, and I like to witness when I'm around people about Jesus, faith in Jesus. So I was witnessing to all these French businessmen, a couple of people from Sweden, and most of them were secularists, atheists. I had a lot of faith to share my faith. And then the pilot was having trouble with that one engine in front of my eyes. It makes a difference when you see things happening. It makes a difference when you go to a restaurant and see how people make the food. It makes a difference when the pilot is struggling with the engine. And so he started the engine started for a few seconds, it stopped. He started the engine again. It went on for a few more seconds, it stopped. He started again. 6 times he started the engine to start and stop. And I was getting more and more nervous, and my faith was getting weaker. And then finally he started the engine. It kept going on for 1 minute only. He said, everybody on board? I wasn't ready to go on board. How about if the engine stopped in midair? But somehow, these atheists, or is it because we're men and we have an ego? We don't want to come across like we're cowards. They just line up. I wait till the last one, by the way. And do I go in? You know something? I was willing to die and not to show that I was a coward. We men are willing to die before we accuse of being coward. So I went on that plane knowing I was going to die. By the way, it helps the wives here to remember that about men. We have an ego. We're insecure. I tell you something, I sat next to the pilot. And in full view of that engine, made in the USA, that made me feel better. Not China, USA. I really believed in the USA at that time. And as the plane took off, I was looking at my watch. Oh, 1 minute passed. No crash. Fine. I never prayed so hard in all my life. Every minute of life was precious. The plane climbed 32,000 feet. I was praying for the engine and the pilot. And then all of a sudden, a big storm hit us, enshrouded in fog and clouds, torrential rains, thunder, lightning, high winds, biggest storm. We felt like a matchbox being tossed back and forth. I knew I was going to die. Not because the engine was going to stop now, but because the plane was going to crash. I couldn't even see the engine to pray for the engine anymore. I felt the plane was going down, 1,000 feet, going this way, that way, up, down. So finally, I couldn't contain myself anymore. I told the pilot, don't you realize the plane is going to crash going down? He said, no, it's going up. He said, and finally, he said in French, I won't say it in English because there we spoke French. He was a French pilot. He said, Monsieur, fermez la bouche, which means what? Oh, you folks know French. You only know special words in French, right? Fermez la bouche. Shut up and be quiet. You're a passenger, be a good passenger. I'm the pilot. Let me be the pilot. And then Samaan needed that exhortation, that reprimand. We all need to be exhorted, to be reprimanded sometimes. Okay? It's okay. And leaders can do that. He said, I don't look at the clouds. I don't look at the storm. I don't think about lightning and thunder. All I do is I focus on the instrument panel. I stand before you here, testifying we had no crash. And if I trusted that human French pilot who didn't even believe in God, but trust his instrument panel in this turbulent world, foggy world of deceit and confusion, shouldn't I trust my divine pilot Jesus, the divine instrument panel, the Bible? I want to appeal to you as we conclude our meetings this weekend to trust the divine pilot Jesus, his divine instrument panel, the Bible, and you will arrive safely home. If you want to make this commitment, as my wife strums a harp, would you please stand up with the concluding?